Inside the ashes of gone crooked. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no, not my things that are singing. Okay. Inside the ashes. Okay. Hey, what's up, you guys? Yes, today we're back at it again with the live, laugh, and I believe what is that? I hear love. Do I hear love? Is that what I understand me to be hearing? This just in. We're living, laughing, and loving. Oh wow. Okay. Um. Okay. For guys, I believe from the latest update, we're living, laughing, and loving. What, bro? Hello. That's so funny. Okay. God, people from like my past have been showing up randomly. Hello. That's so funny. Anyway, just finished the trial coverage. I have not watched the trial yet. Um, should I do like a I might do like a YouTube live. Do you think I could get viewers on YouTube doing a YouTube live? If I can, I'll post on here just that I'm doing YouTube live. Send likes, everyone. Get this live moving. I'm only going to be on for like maybe an hour. Um, Yeah, okay, we got 250 people on here. Let's keep on going. Let's keep on moving and grooving. Let's get this ish on the road. Um, Guest requests are on. Yeah, a side by side viewing. Yeah. Yeah, gorgeous. If you want to send, if you disagree with me, send a guest request. If you disagree with me, send a guest request. If you disagree with me. Okay, great. Okay, we got 480 people on here. Keep sending likes. Follow me up here and follow my backup, Wills.spam. That would be great. Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Going real well. What did you send a guest request to disagree on?
Um, I think the U.S. should stand behind Israel 100%
Yeah, sure. Why?
because Israel has the right to defend itself.
Let's talk about the right to defend itself. Why, in what way do you think it's executing that right to defend itself when it denies humanitarian aid to civilians of Gaza? Is it defending itself from the civilians, the women and children? Is that who it's defending itself from?
No, but you also do know that until October 7th and the offensive got launched, you do know that Israel was supplying Gaza with electricity, medical aid,
Because they're
everything they
legally
need,
required to.
clean water, everything. They
Actually,
supplied
97% of
everything
water
to
within
Gaza.
Gaza, actually 97% of water within Gaza was poisoned by Israel. But also they're legally
I'm sorry,
required to,
poisoned? Wait,
yeah,
wait, wait, wait,
poisoned
wait, wait.
by
Poisoned
Israeli
how?
bombs.
And this is before October 7th, is what you're saying.
Yes, because they had a blockade prior to October 7th, and a blockade means that they're occupying the area. You know what you have to do when you occupy an area? Provide for the bare minimum basic needs for that area.
And they
So they were
did.
legally, so you're asking me to forgive the horrendous acts of Israel for doing, because hear me out, they were doing what they were legally required to do.
Right. But okay, this is the thing that always okay. So so I'm assuming that you think that Palestine is its own nation, correct?
I mean, it's a, well, that's intriguing.
It's
That's
its
an
own
interesting
country.
statement.
Or no?
Well, that's interesting. I think it's one nation. I think it's certainly one nation. Um, I don't know if it's country yet, right?
Yeah.
According to like how we describe it, it's certainly not one state, right?
Right.
I think it's deserving of statehood, but it's its
Right.
own nation, yeah. And every nation
Okay.
generally deserves its own
So
state.
across the globe, what do you think is like the bare minimum that a nation does for its civilians? Because last time I
I mean,
checked, it's a
Eritrea
power
enslaves
grid,
its civilians, so that's not
clean
really the argument, is it?
water, medical aid, food, the whole nine. I mean, they do
I
none
mean,
of that.
no, there's literally no nation in this country where no nation in this world where no one's starving, everyone's living up to par. I mean,
Oh, no, no,
Eritrea
no, no.
and
I'm
North
not
Korea.
saying
Sorry,
that
just to be
everyone
very clear,
has
just
to
to be very
be,
clear,
yeah,
Eritrea and North Korea literally enslave their civilians. The bar for
yeah.
being a nation is not how well you treat your civilians, right?
No, no, I wasn't
Obviously not.
saying, I'm not saying how you treat your civilians. I'm saying, like, there's a power grid, there's
Well, that's
water,
that. That's how you
things
treat that
along
water
those
for the
lines.
civilians. A power grid for the civilians.
Eh, I mean, I think that's debatable.
Is
I
your
mean,
point
you
that
can
they're
have a
too poor
power
to deserve
grid but
sovereignty?
deny it.
Wait, is your point that they're too poor to deserve sovereignty?
No. My
Okay, what's your
point
point?
is that they are propped up by a T group and refuse to offer up that group. And
Who? Who refuses to offer up that group?
the civilians of Palestine. Are you kidding
How
me?
would they do that?
What do you mean? How would they do that? Okay,
How?
okay,
How would
no,
they
no,
do
no,
it?
okay, okay. All right. So let's say that T group is or H group is the minority in Palestine. There are how many civilians about? It's like what, 1 point something million, right?
Are you sober?
Yeah. I've
Okay,
actually been sober for 2.5 years.
congrats.
Yeah. Um,
Okay, give me 2 seconds. If you disagree with me, send a guest request. If you disagree with me, send a guest request. I want someone who disagrees. I can speak. Thank you so much for the gifts. That boosts the live quite a lot. Also, I kicked you because you didn't say anything for like quite a while. I need to watch the ICJ hearings. That's what I want to do. I'm gonna do maybe a YouTube live watching the ICJ hearings. Maybe I'll do it later tonight. We'll see. We'll see. I finished my exams. I had an exam in land law and I had an exam in tort law, and I finished my mock exams. Can we get a congrats in the chat, everyone? Thank you. They were mock, so they don't actually count, but hopefully I did pretty well. Okay. Send a guest request if you disagree with me. If you disagree with me. If you agree with me, I'm just going to kick you. I love you all, but if you disagree with me, I'm just going to kick you. Thank you so much to
Hey,
everyone.
can you hear me?
Hello.
How's it going?
Going real well. What did you send a guest request to disagree on?
So I actually agree with your statement behind you, but I've heard you on the panel before, and I just don't agree with you on your stance about the age group.
Oh, okay. So I've given my statement on this before. First of all, I don't think it's a helpful discussion,
Okay,
primarily. But second of all, it's not a discussion I, as a visa holder of the UK, can have, if you understand what I'm saying.
okay, I respect that. All right,
Thank
but I
you.
agree with everything else you talk about, and thank you for speaking for the Palestinians.
Of course, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right, have a nice day.
You too.
Hi, how are you?
Doing real well. What did you send a guest request to disagree on?
All right. I disagree with the what you wrote behind you. I was just wondering what your stance is, first of all.
Yeah, so I condemn Israel for their actions they're taking currently in Gaza. I call for an immediate end to the apartheid genocidal state and actions of Israel, and I call for an immediate recognition of a Palestinian secondary state.
I do not believe that Israel is directly hurting any Palestinian civilians on purpose, as Hamas was the first to attack Israel. And
Oh,
for
I disagree with that.
you disagree with the fact that Hamas was the first to attack?
Yeah, that's objectively false.
And how so?
Well, on October 6th and October 5th and October 4th, Israel was illegally occupying Palestinian territory. Occupation is violence.
That
Israel has been in
Palestinian
consistent
territory.
violent interaction with the Palestinians since 1967 at the very least, according to international law, and according to common sense since 1948.
Israel was given that land by
By
law.
who?
By law, by the UN.
Oh, the land they occupied following 1967?
That's a discussion that goes to biblical
But
times.
that's the land that they're illegally occupying. So who
How is
gives
it
them that land?
how is it an illegal occupation?
Well, I mean, the ICJ ruled it as an illegal occupation, and the position of 139 countries in the UN and the UN General Assembly is that it is an illegal occupation. And a plain text reading of, the UN Accords shows that it's an illegal occupation.
I'm
So
not understanding how it could be an illegal occupation if Israel was given the right to
it
exist on that
it
land.
it wasn't given the right to exist on that land.
So what land was it given to exist on? This is the only place that the Jewish
The
people reside.
1948 borders.
Other than the fact that you believe that the Jews and the Israelis are occupying the wrong area, the fact
Well, I
that
think that's pretty bad.
the fact that you want to end funding of Israel in the IDF is a separate issue regarding
Also,
humanitarian.
how old are you, Sarah?
How old do you think I am?
It's extraordinarily relevant. Well, how old are you?
16.
You're 16. Okay, bye-bye.
السلام عليكم.
Salam alaikum. What did you send a guest request to disagree on?
Bladder, I'm from Syria. I need help for it. Allah bless you, Bladder. I need help. Gift. We from Syria and Syria war. Please, bro. I need
Wonderful.
help.
I wish you the best of luck. I don't know if I can help you here. I don't know if I can help you directly. If people want to go help, send help to this guy. But this is unfortunately not what this live is for. I'm so sorry. That's the best I can do, everyone.
Who was on that land in 1000 BCE?
Who was on that land in 1000 BCE? I don't remember which specific kingdom was
It
there.
was the Israelis, the
Well, which
Jews,
specific kingdom was there?
the kingdom of Israel.
Well, the kingdom of Israel never had the full territorial expanse of the current state of Israel. So it depends which land you're
It
talking about. So specifically the Gaza Strip, I believe in 1000 BCE may have been occupied by the Philistines, but let's just double check my precise
was Palestine
info.
there? Could it have been Palestine?
Okay, so this is the most recent map I have showing that there is a Philistine city-state, kingdom of Judea, the kingdom of Israel, the kingdom of Edom, which took up some of the space, and then the Phoenician states took up some of the space, and that was in the 9th century BC. So that's roughly when you're talking,
Roughly, yeah.
right? That's 1000 BC. So actually, in the Gaza strips, Gaza is actually listed here. That was the Philistine city-state.
Was Palestine owning that territory, or when did Palestine start?
Well, no, but Israel also didn't have Jerusalem. So if you're arguing for Israeli control of Jerusalem, then you can't be this pedantic with names.
Did Palestine own that territory in
No,
those
but
times?
Palestine is derivative of the term Philistines.
But Palestine is a state, right?
Yeah, but also Israel isn't a kingdom. Things change.
Right. Things change.
So your argument isn't good.
Well, things change, right?
Yes. So the fact that something
And
was away
Israel is changing things now, right?
away 3,000 years ago doesn't mean that, first of all, that's the only time that matters. And second of all, even if it did, right, a lot of Palestinians have descendants from the kingdom of Judea, from the kingdom of Israel, because remember, the kingdom of Israel was lost to the Babylonians and they were moved into, hear me out, where y'all accuse the Palestinians of coming from, and also have ties to the Philistine city-state. Okay, so a lot of the Palestinians actually have more direct ties to the Canaanites who predated Judah and predated the kingdom of Israel, right? Then do the Jews. I'm not saying the Jews don't have ties, but actually the Palestinians statistically have higher ties. So we want to talk about the history. It's very clear the Palestinians have a indigeneity claim. So what's your argument here?
I'm saying Israel was there before Palestine.
The kingdom of Israel was there at the same time as the Philistine city-state, if you want to talk about that. But Israel, ceased to exist, and so did the Philistinian city-state. Both of them claim inheritance from both of those places.
And now
And actually, the Palestinians claim
Palestine
inheritance
is
from
starting
all
to
of.
cease to exist now. I mean, things change, right?
Yes. So why is your point relevant?
Because
I'm trying to fill in a lot of your argument, and then you're just refuting your own argument. What's your point?
I believe Israel has more right to that land than Palestine
Why?
because they were there first.
Who was there first?
The Jews.
They were there before the Canaanites?
They were there before the Palestinians. And you can't just say the Palestinians are the Canaanites because things
Well, I can
change.
say both of them are descendant of the Canaanites, by and large.
Okay.
So if they're both descendants of the Canaanites, and the Canaanites were the people that were there pretty much first, what does that mean for both of their rights to be there?
Well, the Palestinians aren't the Canaanites.
Well, I mean, they are ancestors of the Canaanites, just like the Jews are.
Okay. So they both
So how do we determine
take claim to
indigeneity
that
other than
land.
how do we determine indigeneity other than your ancestors?
Well, through religion. There's a lot of it is
A
religion
shared
around there.
religion. You lose indigeneity if you convert religions?
Well, a lot of it can be determined by the religious groups that live
Do
there.
you lose indigeneity if you are an atheistic Jew?
I guess you wouldn't really be Jewish anymore.
Do you become indigenous by converting to Judaism?
That's an interesting question.
I think the obvious answer is no. Religion doesn't determine indigeneity.
Okay, well, that's your opinion.
Well, do you have any valuable counter opinion?
Well, what I don't like is terrorists and the
Nor do I. That's why I don't
Palestinians.
like the IDF.
Well, they're not terrorists.
Why? According to what definition?
Because they do not, for example, use grape as a weapon.
I mean, there are unilateral accounts of them, and actually the U.S. DoD doing that. So, actually, they do.
Not as a tactic, not as a
Well, how
system,
do you
but
distinguish
there are
actions of
going to
their
be
soldiers
soldiers
and
that
tactics?
violate crimes of their own country, but they weren't ordered to grape women and children throughout Israel
I
like
don't think you
Hamas
can
is
point
doing.
me to solid evidence that the H group in Gaza was ordered to do so. There are independent accounts of them doing so, right? But I don't even think Israel alleges that they were ordered to do so. You're just making that up.
Well, what about all the rockets that they fired at
What
Israel
about all the
on
rockets
October
that
7th?
the IDF fired at
I'm
civilian
asking about the
areas?
first rockets that were fired on October
The first
7th.
rockets that were fired, what, in 1967?
No, the ones that were fired on October 7th,
Why do you start counting on
2023.
October 7th?
The ones that all failed because of the Iron Dome.
Why do you start counting on? Yeah, well, exactly. But
Yeah,
why do you start
because
counting on
Palestine can't
October
defend
7th?
themselves. That's why they're getting their asses kicked. They started a war that they cannot
Did they
finish.
start a war?
Yes,
Because by my
October
count,
7th.
Israel's been illegally occupying them since 1967. Illegal occupation is an action of war. Do you disagree?
They are not illegally occupying that land.
I mean, according to the ICJ, they are illegally occupying. According to literally every international court, every conceivable court of justice and reasonable readings of the UN reportings, they are. So, by what definition are you using, Zach, of illegal occupation?
That Israel had that land first.
When did they have that
We're
land
going back to
prior to
1000
1967?
BCE. Back when they established the land in 1000 BCE.
Wait, no, Judah
From the
didn't hold
Canaanites. They got
Gaza.
it from the Canaanites.
Judah did not hold Gaza.
They didn't hold Gaza? Well, are they occupying Gaza? Or are they attacking Gaza?
Yeah, actually, they are occupying Gaza. The blockade is an occupation.
Right. Well, why are they doing the blockade? Because of October 7th.
No, they've had the blockade since 2012. Do you know what you're talking about?
Oh, I thought you meant the retaliation.
You're aware that they've been illegally blockading air, land, and sea Gaza since 2012, right?
Well, that's what they say.
That's what Israel says. Well, I did get 1,000 people on here, which thank you to the 1,000 people on here. While I have you all, if you can go follow my YouTube, TikTok does not like me very much. Thank you so much for the gifts, everyone. That's what got us to 1,600 people. I love you all. Follow me up here if you don't already, and go support Palestinians. Get the word out. Get eyes and ears on this issue. That's what matters. Zach, you still there, buddy?
Yeah, I just don't understand how you can support Hamas or the way they do things.
I don't support Hamas. When
You
did I
don't?
say that?
Well, you're saying you really do have to take a side here, right?
No, I don't.
You're not taking a side? You're
Well,
just
I'm
playing
taking the
devil's
side of,
advocate?
not killing civilians.
Right, I don't want
That's like
civilians to
saying
get
in World
killed,
War
but
II, I have to take a
when
side
Hamas is
between,
hiding under
with Germany
hospitals,
and Russia. No, I don't.
I mean, if
No,
Hamas
I
is
can
hiding
condemn all bad acts. What are you
under
talking about?
hospitals, the hospitals are going to end up getting hit, right?
Not necessarily.
Well, how are you supposed to
First of all,
kill the terrorists when the terrorists
let's
are
talk
hiding under the
specifics. Let's talk
hospital
specifics.
without injuring anyone in the
Specifically, the
hospitals?
Indonesian hospital that they claimed that to be true of, they didn't provide sufficient justification. And when you can't justify your defense, that means that you committed a crime. They bombed a hospital without sufficient justification. They killed civilians without sufficient justification.
Their
The evidence they
justification
provided
is that
was not sufficient.
the
They couldn't
Hamas
prove that.
soldiers are hiding in there.
I told you, Zach, they couldn't prove that.
Or maybe not to what you would like, but they have their intelligence, and
But
they're not
no
going to give
objective
out their
standard did they prove
intelligence.
it. But Zach, what?
They're not going to make public their intelligence, and then that's not how it works. So then you can't use that
I
intelligence
mean, they have a
anymore.
direct
The
military
means of getting that
integration with the
intelligence
U.S., and the
becomes.
U.S. said that they have a direct military or intelligence integration with the U.S. We have all of their intelligence, and the U.S. military did not confirm or agree with that story.
Well, they're not going to be open with the public either. They don't want to give away sources.
But if Israel confirms it to the public, it's already open to the public.
Well, if they can confirm what they want to confirm, but they're not going to confirm everything.
But doesn't
that
that
they do.
reasonably lead me to doubt it?
Well, you can use, video evidence is also good,
They didn't provide video evidence for the Indonesian hospital. What are you talking
eyewitness
about?
testimony is also good.
Eyewitness testimony, by and large, is fallible. Also, eyewitness testimony was provided against it.
Well, I've seen other things. There
What have you
probably
seen
people
specifically about the
lying
Indonesian
on both
hospital?
sides.
Inform me.
I've seen the videos.
Of the Indonesian hospital?
Of which hospital?
The Indonesian hospital?
I don't know about that one.
Okay. I condemn Hamas. This is why this is not working on me, Zach. You can't understand that, I don't support T groups on either side. You support one of the most well-funded, well-trained, and well-equipped T groups in the world.
Well, that's your opinion.
Seems to be objectively correct. Do you have an actual argument, Zach? Or do you just want to keep reiterating Israeli talking points?
No, I just wanted to come up here and talk about it a little bit, but I think I'll go now. Have a good one.
Bye-bye. Where are my headphones go? Where did it go? Anyway. Thanks, Queens. Thanks, Queens. Okay. I think my headphones died. But if you disagree with me, send a guest request. If you don't disagree with me, don't send a guest request. I'm going to say that one more time. If you disagree with me, send a guest request. If you don't disagree with me, don't send a guest request. Yeah. Thank you so much for the gifts, everyone. Thank you so much for following me up here and my YouTube. Much love. I love you all. Let's see if this loads. Oh. Hello. Hello. Thank you for the gifts.
Hello?
Send a guest request to disagree on.
I don't disagree. I just want to know what sources you use because I need sources.
Reuters, Amnesty, Human Rights Watch. And now,
Thank you.
Great. Peace out. Thank you.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, would you send a guest request to disagree on?
Well, basically your whole talking points. But first off, did you say that you wouldn't take a side between Germany and Russia in World War II?
I said it's like asking me to support either Germany or Russia in World War II and not condemn either.
You didn't want Germany to lose World War II?
That wasn't what I said. It's like taking a side between Germany or Russia. Russia was a totalitarian dictatorship at the time.
But is it taking a side to say that I'm glad that Russia won in their military efforts?
No.
Okay, well, I'm glad that Russia won, defeated the Nazis, and I'm glad that Israel is going to defeat Hamas.
I mean, good work, virtue signaling.
It's not about the virtue
But
signaling. It's
that's
about saying that
it is
I don't have an
definitionally virtue.
issue with taking a position on this. And
I have a position. I just don't have to support.
Well, what's your
either side.
position? Who
Right.
would you
My
like to win the
position is that we
military?
should generally follow international law. Right. That's the comment I'm making right now.
But what
And
value
this
is that
my
in a
position. You
situation
could
where
read
Hamas
that as well.
so what value is
Just-
that when Hamas so vehemently disregards any sort of morality, law? You know, they clearly attack civilians in this situation. They opened up, you know, they're the governing force of the residents of Gaza.
And how did they get there?
Well, they were elected in 2005, 2006.
Intriguing. That's
But they
intriguing.
haven't had
Who
a chance.
supported them in their creation?
Are you going to make some sort of weird claim that, oh, it was Bibi, it was this, it was that? I mean, they have connections to Iran, Qatar, but they're not unpopular among Gazans. It's this
Why are they
weird
not
idea
unpopular?
that
So wait, if they support no human rights and they don't support and they don't help their civilians at all, how are they not
so
unpopular
popular.
in Gaza?
Well, look, it's a situation of generational brainwashing, generational propaganda. The poor kids, the saddest thing about the situation is that the perpetrators of October 7th, when Israel pulled out of Gaza in 2005, you know, they were 5-year-olds, but they've been indoctrinated to this violent hatred and this holy martyrdom their entire lives. And October 7th was the opportunity for them to enact that. And they did, and it was
That's a
disgusting.
fascinating narrative to take, because the thing is there are
I mean,
lots
it's
of
non-common, unfortunately, within
Oh, I love
the
being able to
extremist
speak
world.
when I
All
when
right,
I
go
am
ahead.
able
Go
to
ahead.
speak.
Go ahead.
We don't see this type of violent extremism generally in places that are well fed. We don't see this type of violent extremism generally in places that have electricity or are able to engage in normal economic activities.
Right. Well,
We
it
can't
works
pretend
out
like
when
this
you
is
have.
something special about Gazans.
Mhm.
This isn't something special about
Well, it
Palestinians.
works out
This
that
is
way
what
when you
I'm
have.
still not done, brother.
Okay, whenever you're ready.
Well, I'll tell you when it's really clear. That's how a conversation works.
Okay, okay.
What are we playing at here?
Look, I'm just ready to make my point. I understand what you're saying about the fact that they have food insecurity, the fact that they don't have the benefits of, you know, a modern country should have. But it works out that way when you have a governing body that is so clearly corrupt, that is so clearly siphoning off these billions of dollars of humanitarian aid that should go to Gaza for the sake of having water, food, education. But they're so, rather than teaching them education that's going to help them, it's this indoctrination to this idea of religious martyrdom.
Why
that
did they
helps the
elect? Why
leaders.
did they elect Hamas in 2006? Then were they brainwashed prior?
I mean, it's a deep-rooted. The unfortunate thing of the Palestinians is that, you know, they are they are the cannon fodder for the greater Arab
No, I'm
world
asking you why they
as a result.
elected Hamas.
Right, I'm getting into that. I'm saying that the Palestinian cause is this spearhead for a general sense of anti-Semitism that exists within the Arab world, the former
Really?
Ottoman Empire. Yes, it's
Really?
not.
Is this your
Yes,
view? Is that it's because of anti-Semitism?
you don't believe that.
Have you asked the 8,000 Jews that live in Iran?
How many Jews lived in Iran 50 years ago?
Right. Well, there was
There
a
was a
mass
huge, there was
exodus
a
following the
huge,
found. Sorry,
when
just
the
to be very
Islamic
clear,
Revolution
there
in
was a
Iran
mass
took
exodus. Sorry, you've
place.
asked a question.
I'm speaking. I'm
I know
speaking.
you
I
are. You
gave you
asked a
your
question
time.
though, and I'm going to
I gave
respond.
you.
I'm going to
Well, you
respond to the
asked me about
question.
the 8,000 Jews in
Well,
Iran, so I'm telling you
yeah,
about
and
them.
you asked me a
I'm
question
telling
in
you about
response.
the
You
Iran.
asked me a question in response, brother.
Okay, so what do you have to say about the Islamic Revolution in Iran and the
The
violence that was
American
perpetrated
funded
against?
one?
Well, no, Jimmy Carter wanted to be soft and think that, oh, we should take out the Shah, or we should allow them rather to have this, you know, this move from a secular state where it had these Western values, education, women had the right to go out
Bro, like, come
with their
one second.
heads uncovered.
One second. Because you did ask me a question, then you went on another monologue. The American funded revolution, religious revolution in Iran, that's the one you're referencing as a spearhead for anti-Semitism?
I'm
Also,
talking
right,
about,
also just to be very clear, the religious Iranian state that openly expresses active protections for Jews, that's the one you're referencing? I don't doubt that there's anti-Semitism in Iran. I
do you
especially
know
don't doubt
about the
that
Iranian
sorry, no, no, no.
Revolution?
I especially don't doubt that there's anti-Semitism across the world. But if we look at specific protections for Jews, Iran has specific protections for Jews, and actually compared to things that aren't funding Hamas, right? If we look at Pakistan, if we look at India, if we look at Sri Lanka, right,
Mhm.
they have more human protections for Jews. And the
Iran
Jews in
prior
there
to
actually
the
have higher qualities
revolution.
of living and
Mhm.
lower rates of hate crimes than they do in Pakistan or they do in India.
All right, so let
So
me get into my thing now, if you're ready. Iran prior to the Islamic Revolution was a more secular state. It was not one that had religious fanaticism in terms of limiting freedoms for women, and Jewish freedom and Jewish
I'm aware it's a
security
religious state.
was much stronger prior to the
Oh, I
revolution.
disagree that under a secular state they were safer. That's just categorically wrong.
Well, regardless, I mean, it's not the idea that's category like this
It's
definitive
well, I mean, just
statement.
factually
The idea
categorically
that
wrong.
safety is this, no. It was a much better experience to be a
It was a
Jew in
better
Iran
state.
it was definitely a better experience to be a Jew in Iran prior to the revolution.
Only because of the confluence with the foundation and
Well, and
strengthening of
and there are
Israel.
so many Jews that fled. Look, the reality is that there was ethnic cleansing across the entire Arab world after Israel was formed. It was not a situation where there was
You're
safety for
categorically
Jewish
incorrect.
people. You don't understand. Look at Oh my God.
So
Look at
just to be extremely
Morocco,
clear,
Egypt,
there
all
was
these
okay.
countries, Syria. They had these Jewish populations that had to flee out of fear of violence and death. The
Where did they
idea
flee?
that
Where did they? Wait, sorry.
anti-Semitism
Okay.
it doesn't exist in the Arab world. Look, I'm not even trying to say it as a point of finger, oh, how dare they? I'm just
Wait,
saying
I
it's a
never claimed that.
reality.
I
It's a
never claimed
reality
that.
of the Arab
I
world.
know. Wait, sorry. What's your
I'm
name?
just
Can I
getting
ask your name?
back to my point.
I know, but you keep on speak. What's your name, by the way?
My name
What
is
can I
Jay.
refer to you as?
Jay.
What?
Jay.
Jake?
Yep. Jay
Jake,
like
I
Jay
never said
Leno.
that.
Okay. What
I
I was
actually
saying
explicitly didn't say that.
didn't say what?
I actually explicitly said that there is still anti-Semitism in the Arab world.
Okay. Well, my original point that got us on this tangent was that the Palestinian people have been the unfortunate cannon fodder for this wider sentiment. The Ottoman Empire never wanted to be these individual nations. They were created as a result of British map making, which was done based off the geography of these areas, not over were they Kurdish, were they Shia, were they Sunni, and that led to a lot of problems in this part of the world with each other, but the idea that there isn't this deep sentiment towards wanting to hurt Jewish people that leads to Iran, Qatar, all these nations flooding this area, not with food and resources, but with weapons, and creating this powerful force of Hamas that then perpetrates October 7th, it's a result of that. So when you say,
Okay,
oh,
can I respond to that?
why did they put the, I just want one last thing. When you say, why did they put into place Hamas in 2005, 2006, the reason is because it's just so deeply entrenched with this idea that the most useful way to spend a life is to martyr yourself for this religious cause against Jewish people. That's why it
Okay,
happens that way.
okay. A lot was said, a lot that is just fundamentally wrong. Okay. The partitions under the British and French were not merely done on geography. That's categorically incorrect. For example, the partitions in Pakistan and India were done literally by religious lines. The partition of
Right. Well,
Lebanon.
that's
Wait, so
Hindu versus Muslim.
okay, stop speaking. If you're going to go on a monologue, that involves you
I'm
not
not.
speaking.
I'm not going on a monologue. Go ahead.
Okay, so the partition of Lebanon was done specifically to maintain a Christian majority. So you're just fundamentally wrong. The partition in Jordan was done specifically to maintain power of the Hashemite kings. Once again, fundamentally wrong. Qatar, a specific Hashemite kingdom.
When you look at the
UAE,
breakdown
stop
of
speaking.
Iraq,
This
for
isn't difficult.
instance,
This isn't difficult.
but you don't think that there's been any negative consequences
No, but
to
I think you don't know what you're
how
talking
the
about.
British set up.
And that's
I,
why I'm going to like this is why I'd like to be able to not be interrupted when you literally wouldn't let
look,
me make
you're
an
getting your
point.
points
If you want
across.
to, sorry, if
Getting
you
your
want to have a
points
two-way
across.
discussion, that's fine. But if you want to go on monologue after monologue, right, that involves me engaging in a monologue as well.
We're talking. It's all good, man.
Okay,
It's all
don't like
good.
but do you see how this is frustrating to me?
I'm just saying.
Then stop interrupting me.
If you look
No, wait,
at
no,
the
no, you don't
borders of,
get that right. No,
okay,
no,
okay,
stop
all right.
speaking.
What's your point?
No,
Go
I'm
ahead.
just going to continue speaking as I'd like to, and then you can respond how you'd like to.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Okay. As I was saying, you don't know what you're talking about regarding the partition. So Lebanon was specifically made to have a Christian majority. You claim that it was based purely on geography. That's nonsense. Saudi Arabia was specifically made on geography to give the Saudi kings power. Qatar was made that way. Bahrain was made that way. The UAE was a foundation of what, I think 4 or 5 tribes. That was not based merely on geography. You could argue maybe Yemen and Oman, but Yemen was a combination of 2 separate British colonies, right? That wasn't just based on geography, right? So specifically in the partition of the Middle East, that's not correct. It was based particularly on religion, right? And then also tribal alliances. Partitions on Africa, 100% correct. Partitions within the Southeast Asia, you're categorically wrong again, right?
All right,
They
I hear
separated
you.
Pakistani Bangladesh, right? So I agree there have been issues caused by colonialism of the West. I disagree that the dislike of that colonialism, right, which is still in the remnants of the Western backed state of Israel, is somehow having to do with the specific, ethnic group that they gave there. Right? Disagreeing with Lebanon as a state is drastically different than disagreeing with Christians as a people. Disagreeing with Israel as a state is drastically different than disagreeing with Jews as people. And just to be clear, we see that very clearly, right? With the specific advocacy that actually Iran is a great example of this. As I've said, you keep pointing to Iran, and you're right to say that Iran is funding. Once again, I asked you why Hamas got funded or got elected in Gaza. Right? It's because, by and large, Israel rigged that election.
Will, can I interrupt you for a moment, please?
No, you can't. But just to be extraordinarily clear, Iran has explicitly said that they are not doing this to harm Jews. Iran has specifically said that they view Israel as a fountain of anti-Semitism, and Iran has constitutionally enshrined protections for Jewish people. Okay, so anti-Semitism exists in Iran. I don't doubt that. But to say that all of Iran's foreign policy is based on anti-Semitism is entirely ahistorical.
Okay. Can I speak?
Oh my goodness. Guys, I got to do this every single time. Every time that I set a boundary for people who keep on interrupting me, I need to start getting a bingo card. Every time I'm like, hey, you're interrupting me, I'd like to be able to get to speak. Every time I actually finish a point, they always go, can I speak? As if they're the victim. It literally happens every single time, right? I've noted it maybe 6 or 7 times on here, within the past 2 times. It's hilarious. Anyway, just annoying. You're not a victim. It's just how conversation.
I'm not trying to be a victim. Just literally, you say don't me interrupt, so I'm just making sure you're finished. That's all, my dude. So, look, I don't want to get lost in the weeds of this or that or the other thing. please, I'd like you to say, like, what's a coherent point we can discuss?
I mean, I made a good solid
Okay.
amount of point. You've suggested this is all about anti-Semitism. That's utter nonsense.
We talked about Iran. We talked about how different regions of. Okay, the point that I was making a while ago now, but was saying that the Ottoman Empire was not. It did not want to be ruled by these individual nations. It was this coherent empire that lost in World War One. So the idea of specific Egyptian or Palestinian or any or Syrian regions being these independent nations wasn't the hope. So that's my point
Oh,
being
that's
that
not true. Also incorrect. I disagree with that
it's
characterization as well.
it's a spear point for a general sentiment within the Arab world, which is why in these different conflicts, Egypt and Syria and Jordan have been involved. They didn't say this is just between Israel and the Palestinians. It's unified that way.
But the West is unified too. But also, I disagree that the Ottoman Empire wasn't meant to be broken up. The Ottoman Empire was an imperial empire. It kept taking territory, and actually, it maintained cultures under the Ottoman Empire, right? So, like, that's also how the Sykes-Picot Agreement separated them up, was what the current Ottoman Empire separations were. Right, so to suggest that there weren't Egyptian identities under the Ottoman Empire, to suggest there weren't Palestinian or Syrian.
There were identities, but they never wanted to have any sort of nation that could have its own independence in a way that could then threaten the head of the kingdom. They never wanted these to be.
Well, the Ottoman king didn't want that.
Look,
and the Ottoman king happened to, or the Ottoman emperor happened to just have all the power.
Look, this is a fascinating discussion, and I actually enjoy getting into it with you, but let's get back to the main point of today in Israel's operations within the Gaza Strip. So
yeah, the only reason we keep on getting into little points is because you keep making like wide-spanning historical points that are just fundamentally wrong.
Look, I'm here just discussing good faith. I was just talking about the history of the general region of North Africa and the Middle East. So looking at the situation right now with Israel and Gaza.
Okay,
Israel needs to remove Hamas as a military force, and then also there needs to be a sea change in the way that the children there don't get indoctrinated into violence and hatred from birth, and also foreign aid that comes into it isn't getting siphoned to line certain corrupt leaders' pockets.
Okay, let's talk about the most effective way to do that.
Right. So my opinion on it is that.
Well, can I give my opinion? Because I think I know yours.
I mean, you don't, but go ahead.
I mean, that's fine. It was just a lot of preface. From my view, the best way to reduce terrorism in an area is to economically revitalize the area. That's all that's ever worked, right? Libya was a lot less terroristic when it was stable, so was Algeria, right? And after Algeria was independent and economically stabilized, right, it was able to drastically reduce the amount of terrorism.
But the corrupt leaders of Hamas would never want to see the area become economically prosperous, because then it wouldn't give them the chance to blame everything on Israel. They line their own pockets with these billions of dollars of foreign aid, and then they say the reason for all of your problems is your neighbors in Israel, the Jewish people.
Is that what the IDF did, or is that what the
IDF does?
No, sorry, one second, I misspoke. The IRA did in Ireland.
I'm not familiar with Irish history. I mean,
okay, I'll give you a really quick recap. The IRA.
I don't really know if it's relevant, though. I mean, let's talk about this.
It's really relevant because you're trying to predict. You're trying to predict the future when we've seen this happen in the past. And the British said the exact same thing about the IRA. Okay, the IRA was a registered T group against England fighting for Irish independence. Right? They existed during the Troubles in the 1920s, right, and the 1910s. And consistently, the British said, no, they are a T group. We need to eliminate the IRA, and then we can consider Irish independence. Right? And then effectively, the T group got so powerful, and then Thatcher lost support, blah, 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 blah. But a lot happened, and they were able to establish the Free States of Ireland and eventually Southern Ireland. And now Sinn Féin, the political arm of the IRA, descendants of the political arm of the IRA, is in power in the Republic of Ireland. And they are a progressive, liberal, and socialist party that is genuinely iconic.
And that's what you think Hamas is going to turn into?
What I'm saying is, well, you can laugh, but you don't know history, as
Well,
you've
you're
established.
making this connection, and it doesn't really hold
What
water
I'm
for me,
saying is,
because in
once
Ireland there was a group that did terrorism and then turned into a liberal socialist dream. It's just so weird when it's like
what
Hamas.
I'm saying is you've not pointed to anything. So the Shah in Iran labeled a terrorist, right? Every single revolutionary has been labeled terrorist. I agree, actually, that Hamas is a terrorist. I agree with this.
Right.
But when we're talking about what happens in the future, is typically following independence, the
But when
people
you
don't tolerate violence as much. And when the people don't tolerate violence, at the very least, recruitment for T'ism is harder. And then it's funneling funding, tolerance for them, right? Support for them, economic support for them. The people matter a little bit to their rulers.
right,
And
but
the
we need to
character of
make
the people reflect in the character of their rulers.
But we can't be naive to the reality that Hamas as a terrorist group is so entrenched in this region of the world. It's not like Al Qaeda, where it was an offshoot versus the actual official government. They are the official government. They control the commerce, they control the education. It's so deeply entrenched that situation that the people are going
Did
to
you refer to
have
Gaza as the region of the
have
world?
a say. The Gaza Strip, whatever you want to call it, the
But it's like
land.
a teeny little bit. It also is literally an offshoot,
Okay,
right? Because it's
my
part of the
point
greater
is that
Palestinian state.
it's so entrenched, Hamas, the idea that the people have a choice whether or not they're in power anymore. They've canceled elections. They haven't had an election in 16 years, and it's not as if they're open to people with opposing ideas. Quite the opposite.
I mean, they
And
actually have a military alliance with 10 other militias.
okay, but what's your point in terms of? I mean, you talk about the IRA as this like liberal socialist thing. What if a person says, "Hey guys,
Well, they weren't liberal and socialist in the 1920s.
rights for women to go uncovered or to be
Wait,
unescorted."
did you seriously not know that they had a military alliance with 10 other Gazan militias? One of which
Wait,
is the
talk
Communist Party of Gaza?
and like PIJ, sure, but it's not a situation where I just the idea that these are people who, cede power or who are going to be open to, free flowing dialogue about how things should run. No, it's literally fascism. It's literally a situation where ideas they
But the point
disagree
is this
with
isn't how
and
power works.
control of it.
They can't keep it just because they won it and they really badly won it. They have power for a reason. And
They
once
can
that
keep it
reason
because they're the
ceases,
men with guns and they get
because
those
when that
guns from
reason
Iran and
ceases to be
Qatar.
true, they will lose power. Do we see how that works? This isn't like it's a fundamental different view of history. That's why I point to historical examples. It's because the IRA was not socialist in the 1920s. They were actually I was disgusted by their values in the 1920s, right? But as people changed and as they ceased to be oppressed, they had to change to maintain power. Because not all power comes from the people. That's true, especially in highly interventionist states, right? Like the Gaza Strip. But what that means is who intervenes has power. And
Right. So
Israel is the one intervening. Let's just be very clear. They have the most power over Gaza because they have control of all their food, water, and shelter. So when we talk about where is the power of Hamas coming from, if not those who are intervening? Where I don't doubt that Iran is intervening, but the people matter a little bit, and then the next door neighbor and the treatment by that next door neighbor who controls all that goes in and out, that matters a little bit as well.
the
So all of
treatment
this
that
matters. It's
Israel
not just that they're
imposes
bad
onto
people.
Gaza, the treatment that Israel imposes onto Gaza, it functions for the purpose of limiting the military power for Hamas. They don't want to have a blockade on water or air because
Then why
they
did a minister say that Palestinians need to go on a diet?
look what one minister said. I mean, America, I
Well,
assume
it
you
was
live
a
in
minister
America,
in
right?
government.
Okay, but it's not as if
Bibi's referred to them as dogs.
it's not as if what Marjorie Taylor Greene says wherever
This is a
she is
member of effectively the
matters,
cabinet.
and she's a member of our Congress,
But the cabinet's drastically different. Also, Bibi Netanyahu referred to them as dogs. He referred to them as the children of dark.
of dark. Oh, they're Amalek, they're this or that. The reality of
Well,
what
you're going to
Israel
ignore
is
all
doing.
comments, right? But how do I establish intent? How do I establish their goals then? Why do you get to say that this is their intent?
I'm
right?
saying
When I actually bring up their words, and that shows that that's their intent.
I'm saying if we look at what actually occurs, it's not as if there's any issue with Israel has no issue with Gaza doing their thing in a peaceful way. There's no interest in
Wait, they do. There was
in a peaceful way.
brutalization and killing at a peaceful march next to the wall in Gazan territory.
No, that was clearly a direction towards trying to
So
invade.
peace is a direction towards violence?
No, that was not a peaceful protest.
It was. There was no violence at that protest.
Yes, there was.
No, I mean, the violence was from the IDF, yeah.
Mm-mm.
But there was no Gazan violence from there. Not in 2009.
Look, there's no value in trying to pretend about Hamas and its efforts. There's no
value in you not lying.
in pretending I'm not.
But there's
lying.
a value in truth.
No. There's no value in sanitizing a terrorist organization.
But there's no value in you.
Their stated
Me saying
goal,
something that's true is valuable.
Their stated goal is to enact violence onto Israel, and they did so.
And Israel's how many statements do I need to show you? Israel's stated goal is to tear down Gaza.
Israel wants to remove Hamas from power, and Hamas
Israel keeps saying that, and yet Israeli ministers and Israeli soldiers keep showing that their intent is to unilaterally kill.
Here's what it is in a nutshell.
But once again,
here's what it is in a nutshell.
What you said was not true.
Here's what it is in a nutshell.
One second.
Okay.
What you said was not true, and I think that is important. Israel does care what Gazans do peacefully, and so do you. I pointed to the March of Return. I believe it was in 2009. Mm-hmm. There was no shown Gazan violence. Zero.
The reason I bring that up is because it's used as a talking point to say this is a peaceful move. Right. That's used as a talking point of, this is the example of them behaving peacefully, where the unfortunate reality of the entire history of Gaza since 2005, there's never been an attempt at a peaceful coexistence. The rocket fire took place within a few months of Israel pulling out the Jewish population. You there?
Wait, but it means not all Gazans are all Gazans. You understand that, right? Especially not
not all Gazans are all Gazans.
Yeah, that means that violence by one Gazan doesn't mean that all Gazans are trying to be violent. That's an important concept. Okay,
yeah,
so your idea, let's just be very clear what I mean by that. Your idea that there has been violence in this area since the pullout, which there have been violence in this area since, 1948, somehow means that Israel is okay with, just the ones that do peace, but they never do peace because there's always violence. See how twisted of an idea that is?
No, my point is that the idea that there's ever been an attempt from the elected power within
I didn't
Gaza.
claim from the elected power.
Okay, but I'm saying...
Do you know what the March of Return was?
I'm familiar.
And you know that it was peaceful?
I don't agree that it was fully peaceful.
Okay, well,
and also it wasn't, it's not as if any action from Hamas has ever, or
it wasn't
from Gaza
an action
or whatever.
Hamas.
Okay,
not all Gazans are all Gazans. Right.
It's not as if any action from Gaza has been met with Israel's full military force. It's clear that Israel is more powerful.
The fact that it only takes one gun to kill me doesn't make it better to kill me. My point is what you said was not true.
And
Israel met Gazans' peaceful protest in the March of Return with violence.
Look, here's what it is in a nutshell.
I want a response to that. I don't want a nutshell. I want a response to that.
My opinion that the March of Return, there was
violence at the 2018 March of Return.
Yes, from Gaza, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Until you prove that, right? Because I don't even believe Israel directly claimed that there was any widespread or any directed violence. I think they claimed independent claims of violence, but there was obviously no violence.
Now it's independent things of violence, and a minute ago it was zero. So there was some.
No, so just be very clear what I said.
There was some.
I said Israel did not claim this, right? They claimed independent things of violence.
Yeah.
And then what I said previously was that there was no shown violence. So there's no evidence of any violence.
Listen, I got to get back to work, so let me just put in a few last things, which is, in a nutshell, the way it is Hamas perpetrated, October 7th. And that was the slaughter of women, children, elderly, it was disgusting on so many levels. I don't think you or anyone really takes issue with that. Although there are some voices now where I'm kind of shocked with the way that folks seem to be okay with it. But that's neither here or there. Israel says try to kill our kids over our dead body. Hamas says try to kill us over our kids' dead bodies. They have deliberately placed their civilian population harm's way while they stay underground. These tunnels aren't for the children, it's for themselves.
What do you call settlers
And
in the West
and
Bank?
and have been using, why are you talking about, we're talking about Gaza.
Well, I'm saying
The
the
point
idea
is they're
Israel also
deliberately
uses
putting
Israel also
children
uses
in harm's way.
sorry. You're
They're
comparing.
deliberately putting
One
children in
second.
harm's way.
You're
Stop
comparing.
trying to
No.
sanitize this
One
stuff.
sec. I'm not trying to
This is so
sanitize. I'm not trying to sanitize
anti-productive.
it.
You
When
need
did I
to
try
make
to
a
sanitize something?
realistic look at the
When did I try
difficult
and when did
situation
I try and
Israel
sanitize something?
is
You
in
no.
right now.
One second.
They need
One second.
to
No.
remove
I'm
Hamas,
not.
and
One
Hamas
second.
is
I'm not even
making
gonna let you have a
clear.
closing monologue.
Hamas is
If you
making
need.
clear. Look,
Okay.
I gotta
One
go.
second,
But
bro.
for the
But hey,
reasonable
wait. If you want
people
a closing
who are
monologue, you can talk to
listening,
a wall.
the people
One
who
second.
are
No.
reasonably
One second.
listening,
Bro. Jake.
we're
Jake.
not talking about,
We're
we're
not. You're
talking
not
about
saying anything.
Gaza.
No one can hear you if you're talking over me.
We're talking about Gaza.
Okay, Jake. Whoa.
Hamas
Jake,
has
is this a difficult
intentionally
concept
put.
for you? It's not a difficult concept. If you can't figure out how to unmute, that would be really funny. Sometimes other people need to speak, and sometimes I don't need to give you my platform. Hot take. 1 second. Give me a room. Oh, he left. Okie dokie. Okay. What it is? What's up? Thank you, Tom.
Yo, can you hear me?
Hey, are you driving? What it is?
Hi, how are you doing?
Hi, what's up? Would you send a guest request to disagree on?
We agree on the same thing. You and me, we are on the same side.
Ah, cool. Then I love you so much. Keep fighting the good fight, but I'm gonna find a disagreeer. Hi, what'd you send a guest request to disagree on?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, how old are you?
Hi, I'm 20.
You're 20. What year were you born?
2003.
2003. Wonderful. What do you disagree on?
Oh, I'm from Israel actually, so I just saw your
Doesn't mean you have to
live.
support genocide.
I just wanted to hear what your thoughts on the subject. I actually didn't hear anything you said so far. I just joined the live, so I actually
I think this should be true, and I think Israel should stop acting in the way that it is in Gaza and generally pull out of the occupied areas of Palestine.
Okay, so let me just ask you this as someone who is definitely not supporting any type of killing of innocent people. As someone as personally lost some close friends at the 7 October's acts, I definitely don't support anything, but what do you think my country should do?
I think you should handle your territory better. So Gaza is considered an occupied territory of Israel. If you want a
Yeah,
right
let
to
me just.
defense against
I
it, then you
actually, I
should not
actually.
occupy it. But secondarily, right, you should stop mistreating the civilians, right? Because when you economically disenfranchise and fundamentally brutalize civilians, terrorism happens in that area. Not justifying it, that is just in fact true.
Yeah, like I keep hearing people talking about the occupation, but
Yep.
honestly, as someone who was just born here 20 years ago, I don't have anything to do with that. I honestly
I'm not
don't
saying you
support.
personally do.
Yeah, I don't say.
You asked me what Israel should do.
Yeah, I know. I just,
So I told you.
when I see people commenting on the subject, I just keep seeing comments on, Israel has been occupying Palestine for 75 years. But,
It has.
right, but also a lot of countries all over the world has been, let's just say, America wasn't
America.
always. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why are you making
Where is
that
it occupying?
face? I'm not saying it's occupying because they
So give
kill
me an
all the
example of a
other
country that's
civilians.
occupying another country.
When people say
Give
Jews
me another example.
to other countries, a lot of other countries in the world weren't, the people who live there now wasn't always there.
Yeah. Also, just to be extremely clear, everyone, I agree that the US is occupying places. I agree Australia is occupying places. I agree Russia's occupying places.
Yeah,
This was
so
more of a
my
geography
point,
quiz for everyone. Just to be very
my
clear,
point
the
is
reason I'm
not that
condemning the
it's
specific
fine.
Also, I
Okay.
do condemn the occupation of Hawaii. I do condemn the occupation of Puerto Rico. I condemn the occupation of the Crimean Peninsula. I condemn the occupation of certain Aborigine areas under Australia, right? But the difficulty here is us doing bad things doesn't justify you doing bad things, especially when you signed a treaty saying you wouldn't.
Okay. First of all, I never said I agree to that, and it's good for you that you don't agree with it. But my point is, if we are talking about things that are happening in the present, then you shouldn't bring up stuff that happened 75 years ago. And let me explain to you why.
Doesn't Israel
okay?
bring up in its founding charter something that happened 3,000 years ago?
Yeah, only because people are saying that we
I feel
don't
like that's a
belong
little
to this
longer.
land. Yeah, only because people are saying that we don't belong to this land.
So the foundation and validity of someone's claim to land can go back in history?
Listen, you are just making some faces, and I don't know what you're exactly trying to do
Because
here.
what you're saying is
But let me
nonsense.
just.
Only Israel gets to
Okay.
talk about history, but we don't get to talk about history?
No, let me just tell you because I don't think you understand my point. My point is, I don't want to curse, but I don't give a, about history. I'm just trying to talk
Clearly.
about present.
I think history matters, though.
Okay, but let's just talk about present because.
Okay, why do you have the right to live on the land that you do? Why is it bad to kick you out?
Excuse me, I didn't understand the question.
If someone wanted to kick you out of your house or your country, why would that be a bad thing?
I think it's kind of clear, isn't it?
Make the point then.
I just don't really understand your point. Are you trying to say
Why
that
are you
it's
entitled
bad
to
that
live where you do?
because I was born here.
Is
And
that
I'm
in the
not saying
past?
I think you're just making these faces, and I don't say that kicking people out.
I feel like you were born in the past. But you do. Occupation necessitates ethnic cleansing.
Okay, let me just. Okay. Listen. 75 years ago, we wanted to live here in peace. Okay? That could not happen because.
Intriguing timing. Okay, loves. Well, I just finished my exams. I'm gonna go hang out with my friends. But what I will say is I might be on later tonight. I might not. But I love you all so much. You're all so cool. You're all the best people. So I'm going to go hang out with my friends. I'm going to have a gin and tonic, and we're going to have a good time. So do go follow my YouTube. Please do go follow my YouTube. I have my lives posted on my YouTube. And gosh, I've been working on exams, but tomorrow I will sit down and download my YouTube. Understand? I will do it. I will do it. It will be done. Okay. I love you all. Bye. And do go follow my Patreon. And also send me cash apps. I don't get paid enough for this. But I'm also here to support. But I'm also a college student. Okay. Bye. Love you all.